And here we are having today Dr. Victor Zines. Dr. Zines, welcome.
A pleasure to be here.
I'm so excited that we are speaking today. And I heard that you talk about how old is the food. Can you tell us why it's so important?
Actually, I can. Well, very simple, really. Most people have gum disease, roughly 70% of our population, according to the American Dental Association. Now, why is that happening? One reason it's happening is not because you don't brush your teeth. Again, most people brush their teeth, and it turns out that in primitive areas where they don't brush their teeth like we do, they still do not have most periodontal problems. Study was done by Weston Price in the 30s, wrote a book, Physical Degeneration and Nutrition, and showed that people on diets had almost no decay, no gum disease, and oh, by the way, they didn't have heart attacks or high blood pressure. But let's put that aside for the moment. The point is, if you think of gum disease as the beginning of malnutrition, and the same with tooth decay, by the way, it makes sense. So here's my question. This is a 3-hour nutrition lecture I'm going to give you in 30 seconds. Let's say your food is grown in the best soil that food is supposed to be grown in, which hasn't been in this country since 1923, but we'll give you that. We'll say your diet is the best diet that ever happened to a person. You have no stress in your life and you have no pollution. Here's my question. How old is your food? Think about it for a minute. When you go to the store, Whole Foods or wherever you go, do they go, good morning, and they run out the back and pick it from the backyard? I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. It's actually very interesting, especially when some buffet, and you just never know. Sometimes I'm not sure if we kind of shifting all the food forward and maybe put in a new food back. I mean, I'm just having an idea. I don't know exactly
that
how it
happens.
is.
That happens. And the point is, how old is your food? Let's say, for argument's sake, your food is a week old. In reality, that's not really reality. But for purpose of lecturing, let's say your food's a week old. So here comes the second question. How much nutritional value do you think you're getting from food that's a week old? Now, before you answer, I have a confession to make. I am a cherry tomato addict. My wife knows this, and we grow them in our garden, which I'm not allowed in, the vegetable garden, because I eat them on the vine. And that's a big no-no because Kim likes to dry them and use them for risotto all year long. So she'll pick a bowl for me. Now, she's doing the vegetables. I have a flower garden, and my idea of a good time is to go lift heavy rocks and build stone walls in a flower garden. So about 2 hours after doing that, I'll come back and start eating the cherry tomatoes from the bowl. You can tell a difference in taste in 2 hours from being picked on the vine and being sitting in a bowl. They're not as sweet. They're good, and I will eat the bowl pretty quickly, but they're not as sweet as they are coming off the vine. So just in those 2 hours, there's a little bit of a drop of what constitutes a cherry tomato at the peak of ripeness. That being said, what do you think goes on after a week? If you're lucky, your food has, I would say, between 40 and 60% of what you need. And that's why most people are getting problems in their mouth, because things that happen in your mouth are not diseases in themselves, but are symptoms of what's going on in the rest of your body.
Yeah, excellent. And tell us a little bit, how is it important in terms of our teeth, the oral cavity? Let's just talk a little bit and break down maybe what we call anatomical parts. So we have tongue, we have gums, we have teeth. And in the medical school, when we learn about oral cavity, that's a very complicated and especially with all nerves and the blood supply. That was a really tough anatomy lesson. Can you give us quickly kind of little bit breakdown what we should pay attention? 1, 2, 3.
You should pay attention to all of it. It's funny with med school and dental school, we all take the same courses, but for some reason, it's not really, then the dental part becomes a separate issue. It's like you're walking your dog and the person is the medical side of this and the dog is the dental side. And it's really foolish. Just to understand how foolish this is, the Secretary of Health in 2000, year 2000, Donna Shalala, flat out said that if your oral health is not good, no matter what disease you have, you are never going to get better until you take care of the oral health problems, because it's one and the same. So let's just go with that for a minute. Your dentist is really the only one, with an exception of a few physicians who are smart enough to realize the connection, that will look at your tongue. And aside from China, where they use tongue assessments maybe for 5,000 years, we never do this in this country. And it's very foolish, because your tongue is the only internal organ that you can actually see. And it's very highly vascularized, which means it's got a great blood supply. And that also means that things that are going on inside your body will show up in your tongue very quickly. And all you need to do in the morning is go like this and look in the mirror. Not hard. But it has a lot of implications. If your tongue is gray or grayish brown, it means that you have some sort of liver gallbladder problem. If it's yellow or yellowish green, it's your stomach. If the tip of your tongue, now here's some slides I put together. And when I wrote my book, Your Tongue Never Lies, I went into Woodstock, where I live. Woodstock is a very health-oriented town. I stood on a corner with my camera and a bunch of cards. People would walk by and say, "Excuse me, I'm a dentist. I'm writing a book on tongues. Would you mind if I took a picture of your tongue?" It took me 5 months to find a really healthy tongue. But I suspect most of you watching this show have a tongue that looks like one of these. These are not healthy tongues. You get this as your body goes into a disease state, which means that digestive disorders are producing toxic responses in your body. And the more you become diseased as opposed to healthy, the worse your tongue will look. So it really is up to your dentist to take a look at this and say, okay, what's your diet about? Because when I say it's disease, it doesn't mean that you're feeling sick. These are all things that are going to happen before you get sick. It's like I tell people, you're walking down a block, and when you start on the beginning of the city block, for whatever reason, there are electrical changes in your body. Doesn't matter why, just that's what happens. As you walk down the block, those changes start occurring more and more, and they become chemical. So now you're a quarter of the way down the block, and you have some changes in your body that at this point will show up in your tongue, maybe your gums, and maybe your teeth itself, because enamel is primarily calcium and phosphorus. And when that's not in the right combinations, you start getting tooth decay, because the bacteria in the mouth is also changing. Now, you're not noticing this yet because it's not at a point where you can perceive it really. But
Yeah.
get to halfway. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, Victor, can you walk us through, for example, the first tongue? What does it mean? The very first on the
You're right.
corner.
Okay, on this upper left corner, this is the beginning of a disease state. If you look at this tongue, it's
Sorry,
not.
what's in the disease state?
We don't know yet. We just know that your balance is not the way it should be. That's what I'm saying. This is very early in a disease state, in that some sort of sickness. We don't know what it is, but we know at this point you're not in balance.
So when we say that a certain disease, do you think that the state of might represent certain like cancer or heart problems, or and any other digestive do we know any statistics how this evaluation might represent and people might be at risk for other medical conditions?
Oh, absolutely.
Can you give
Chinese,
us an example?
like I mentioned, Chinese have been doing this for 5,000 years, and there's a reason that they do it, because it works. If the tip of your tongue is red, it's usually either heart disease or hypothyroidism, or thyroid problems in general. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to have a heart attack or a stroke. It means that in your family, there is an inherent weakness in the heart. So when I see a tongue that's the tip is red, I'll ask the patient, is there heart problems in your family? And I would say about 80% of the time they'll say, oh, yes, there is. They may not have any yet because this is early. This is basically on a level of just energy changing. But as you look at these slides, look at the last one on the bottom right. That is one sick puppy. That person definitely knows that they're not in good shape. And you could say that about the lower four.
Are you talking about the one that we have on the right lower corner, correct?
Yeah, we only see 2 teeth because that's all that patient has. But these bottom 4 levels should be seen by a physician if they're not already being seen, because they already have physical symptoms. Going back to that block, if you get halfway down the block, this is going to show up in your mouth. And then as you get 3/4 down the block, you're going to start feeling not so great. By the end of the walk down the block, you'll be saying, you know, I really don't feel good. I need to go see my physician. But all that time beforehand, you don't know what's going on. If any of you watching this and remember the Star Trek movies, and Bones would take a little device and he'd go like this, and he'd check out your body in the starship, and he'd see, and he'd tut, 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 and then you would be better. What he was doing, and we do not have the technology to do that yet, is measuring your electromagnetic field and seeing disorders before they become disease, and was balancing back out. That, in all honesty, will probably be happening within 100 years, but not now. Not yet, unfortunately, because I could use that. But looking at this, looking at the second tongue on the top left, that's already got a little bit of redness on the sides. That's the beginning of intestinal problems. And then you go to the third one.
Sorry, is it on the third one on the top row, on the bottom row?
On the top row now, we're going to go through that. So the third one and the fourth one have coatings on the tongue. Now, those coatings mean that that's a chronic condition. You've had it for a while. You may not notice it, but you've had it for a while. And if you look, the coating is a little more pronounced on the fourth one on the top than the third one. And if you look at the fourth one, there's also a more pronounced line in the middle, which is indicative of vitamin deficiencies.
Is it on the fourth, on the top or on the bottom?
On the top. We're just looking at the top now.
Yeah.
And on the side of that tongue, there's a scalloped outline, which is showing the way the teeth look. That's indicative of either digestive organs dysfunctioning or mineral deficiencies, and in all probability, both. And then when you go down to the bottom 4, you can see that coating gets more and more pronounced as we move to more into disease. So we start by having some problems, not many, but as they progress, you can see it more and more on a patient's tongue.
And can you tell us a little bit, does it predispose to risk of any cancers? Because I'm as an oncologist, obviously, you know, I look at the mouth of every single patient. I never miss one person that would not, even if they come for a completely different problem. Do you think increase a risk of any cancers?
The short answer or the long answer? The short answer is absolutely. But let's go into it. Let's say why. When you have gum disease, the body sees it as an infection. That's basically what it is. And the body, for some reason, starts producing what we call C-reactive protein. That's a protein that causes inflammation in the body. I'm on call. So I get that, but that
Thank you.
produces
Thank you for taking care of everything. Is it if it's emergency, we can always
no.
now.
I'll get back to it. C-reactive protein produces inflammation in the body, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But let's stay with the cancer aspect. The chemicals that the body produces to get rid of gum disease are, ready for this? This is like weird, but it's true, carcinogenic. So if you have gum disease, or you gentlemen listen, watching this, you have a 63% more of a chance of getting pancreatic cancer, which is not so good. You also, and for everyone else, you also have a 40% chance of getting leukemias, a 30% chance of kidney and lung cancer, and the more bone that you lose around your teeth, the higher the frequency or incidence or chances of you getting head and neck cancer. And this is just for starters.
That's a striking statistics. That's something that I have not actually, kind of dove in. And why is it related like that? Like, do we know? Like, does population know? Like, do patients actually come and ask you about this? Are they concerned about? I don't know if actually population aware of this.
They're not. But in the year 2000, Time, on the cover of Time magazine, there was a great article called "The Silent Killer," and they talk about C-reactive protein and how it's produced by your periodontal problems. And also, by the way, we didn't talk about this yet, but since we're giving you happy news at the moment, try this on. If you have gum disease, you have 3 times the chance of getting a heart attack, 3 times the chance of getting a stroke, a good chance if you're over 60 of getting pneumonia. Also good for getting premature and low birth weight babies, which also for the first year of their life will be smaller and will not grow as quick as a normal birth. And it's also related to diabetes. The more gum disease you have, the worse your diabetes gets. And you can actually bring down the blood sugar levels by getting rid of gum disease. Because, as I said, gum disease is a symptom. It's not a disease that you just get because you walked out without a coat in a rainy day. You get it because your body's not in balance. Your body's inflamed, and it starts in your mouth. And that pretty much is what goes on with all of dental problems. As I said, most people take care of their mouths. You brush your teeth, you do what you're supposed to. But things happen. And unless you're on a diet that is pure fast food, we'll say, I'm not going to mention it except McDonald's and Burger King, and you're eating that all day long, yeah, you're going to get sick. I mean, there's no question about that. But if you have a normal diet that's fit for human beings, you're still going to have problems, which is why my hygienist is booked up for months ahead, because people need the cleanings. And they need that, even though they brush, they take care of themselves. Because one quick little thing, if you're getting plaque, it's not because you eat, well, it's because you're eating wrong. It's that simple. That your body is too acidic. And what's happening is the minerals are precipitating out in your saliva and attaching to the teeth. And that's what plaque is about. You start going on a good alkaline diet and you watch how much better your gums are going to be.
So it's very interesting because I looked and it's kind of strike me statistics. And it was published in Sun Valley, and it says percent of women who brush their teeth after every meal is 28%. Percent of men who brush their teeth after every meal is 20%. Percent of women who brush their teeth twice a day, 56%. And percent of men who brush their teeth twice a day is 49%. And percent of women who have a dentist, 89, and percent of men is 74. And so it's kind of very interesting. And then it says that percent of Americans who floss daily is 50%. So how the statistics look like to you? Does it represent what you see in actual practice every day?
Well, in actuality, it just says to me that women are smarter.
Well, thank you. Obviously, you're on the show with me. What kind of question?
No, it's really true. I mean, you think about it. We have a slide may show later of primitive men walking around, and the fact is, sometime if you're ever interested in doing this, get yourself a sharpened stick and go out and try and kill something, and let me know how that works. Most of the food that people got forever were from women foraging, getting the food, taking care of it, having the babies, watching the kids, while the men, for a large part of it, are going out in groups trying to pick up bananas with their feet. I mean, here's this, and these people that you're looking at now are not going to McDonald's. They're living their lives, and the women here are the main people that are giving the human race nutrition. The men, yeah, we're good at math and things like that, but you don't really need it then. You need rock throwers and, people who are starting to learn to hunt. But the fact is that in this society, only 25% of the time was hunting really profitable and successful. And it turns out that you really don't need to hunt that much. Weston Price, I mentioned before, did studies on primitive peoples, who, by the way, had great nutrition. And it turned out that one particular peoples called the Dinkas, it's a Sudanese tribe in the northern part of the Nile River, had the best physical tone, physical health that you can imagine. And their diet was primarily fruit and vegetables and fish. And here's another little thing that you don't really learn all that much. Eating more than 10% of meat, particularly red meat, in your diet is a great way to develop cancer. More you eat, the more you're susceptible to it. So I would cut out all that hamburger meat, things like that. And this is not even talking about the pesticides that are on there and the way those things are actually processed. We're just talking about red meat in general. You're much better off eating fish, fruits, and vegetables.
And can you tell us a little bit, why this is important? Is it a certain, pH? Sometimes we study about certain pH and we understand that it can be acidic and alkaline. Can you walk us a little bit through how does it influence on our health?
I can, and I will. Basically, there's a great book I saw years ago, which I never read, but I bought it because I loved the title. The title was Alkalize or Die. And I know enough about nutrition to know just where it was going, but I just loved the cover that would say that. And that, in essence, is what anyone really needs to know. Most people are too acidic. They eat too much meat. They eat too much processed foods in general. They eat, how shall I put it? They eat too much garbage.
And what does it mean, acidic? Like, is there any way I can find out? Because
absolutely,
morning, I have no idea what's happening.
We're putting together this lecture in a way is kind of the beginning of a series I'm doing on how you can really live a long, healthy, great life.
So
let me jump in. One of the things that we do is tell you, how healthy are you? One thing you can do is we do a diet analysis. What are you eating? How much are you eating? And when are you eating? And then when we look at that, we also check out your saliva. How acidic are you?
And how do you do that?
Simple way to do that is to go to the drugstore, get a little saliva pH kit. It's just a roll. You wrap off a piece of paper on that, put it in your mouth, and take it. And after 10 seconds, look at it, measure it to a chart that shows how alkaline you are. And I write a lot about this in the Healthy Mouth, Healthy Body book, but it's a very simple thing to do. And you can really measure exactly how healthy you are by the way your saliva is. And people, I'm sure you do this with your patients, people who are particularly cancer patients, really need to get as alkaline as they can without going overboard, becoming too alkaline, though that's not that easy to do. But they really should stick to a very healthy, vigorous alkaline diet. And I suspect that most of them, at least from what I've seen, do better than people who just disregard all this kind of advice and go their own way.
Dr. Zanas, is this expensive to buy those kits? And nowadays in society, we're just really trying to preserve money, and you're really focusing, especially with your classes and your books and how much you teach. You really, give so much value. But can you tell me, is this expensive, those kits?
No, it's like maybe $1.50, $2
Oh,
to
that's
get.
great.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
you get a month's supply. I mean,
Uh-huh.
it's
And with so many tools you provide in, like, do you have any, class or webinar or where we can learn about this?
we're actually putting together at this minute a drvictorzanis.com website where we're going to promote the course that we're doing. And the course is really of about 15 lectures on first, how healthy are you? We'll ascertain that. And a very simple thing, just here's a question, just answer for yourself.
Mm-hmm. And
How
how
healthy? How do you feel?
Mm-hmm.
Most
And
people will go, when patients come in my office, one of the first things I ask is, how's your health? And they'll look at me and, what do you mean? So how do you feel? I say, I'm okay. Now think about that. Most of you are probably going to go, I'm okay, good. That's different than saying great or excellent. It's like, okay, but not great. And the fact is that you've learned not to be great, and you want to be great. And we're going to teach you how to be great, because it means that you will live longer and you're going to be happier about it. So that's the first lecture. Then we talk about nutrition, building up your immune system, what toxins should be immediately removed from your mouth, such as root canals, how not to use fluoride, which is a pesticide, mercury fillings, how we use magnetic therapy, color therapy, kinesiology, a host of things that really are designed to help you live a better, healthier life. And here's a very simple thing we did with color. Now, I stopped doing this in my office because we would have a host of colored glasses, and our patients would pick the color that they felt most comfortable with. But we found people were just walking out with the glasses like I tired of buying them. But while you're looking at this, you will see one color is the color you're drawn to. And when that you focus on that color, focus on it for about 2 or 3 minutes. And the funny thing is, you're going to find yourself more relaxed after a few minutes of watching that, because you need that particular vibration. You're shy on it. You're deficient in that particular vibration. And you'll go from one color and maybe to another one and maybe to a third before you feel you're not going to need to look at this anymore. But it's quite interesting to see how we don't use color therapy in treating patients very much, and we should. It's quite an interesting way of balancing your chakras and your auras and things like that that we are not taught about in med or dental school.
Yeah. So, Dr. Zainas, you have over 40 years of experience, and obviously right now there are a lot of, not only healthcare providers, there are a lot of healthcare coaches, life coaches, and everyone trying to do education. And I think, with your credentials and things that you've done, can you tell us a little bit, I know you author of several books, really evidence-based books, and 40 years of experience. Can you tell us a little bit for us, all of us, understand about your credentials, why we should learn from you and not somebody else?
Oh, that's a tough question.
I knew I will put you on the spot. This is the time to shine.
Because it puts me on the spot.
It's so much about you. Mm-hmm.
Okay. The reason is because I know stuff. I mean, it's that simple. I've been doing this for 40 years and I know stuff. And some of the stuff that I know, I really want to pass on. I have been practicing over 45 years, actually. And it means one thing in particular. It means I'm old. And I have no plans of retiring, but I have a lot of information that I want to share with you people. We started years ago doing this with dentists, and it really didn't work out because the politics involved were, shall we say, not open to suggestions, even though dentistry is really where people should be looking at tongues and understanding what's going on. And I feel, and I see what you said before, Dr. Schaefer, about so many health coaches out. The reason for that is people are looking for answers. They have questions. I monitor a group on Facebook called NICO. It's all about root canals and implants. And somebody asked me last week, you've helped a lot of people here. Are you the real deal? And I got embarrassed. And I wrote back, I don't know how to answer that for you. Check my website. And if you feel that resonates and that you feel you could get something from it, that's good. Then we could talk a little bit. But because there's so many health people out there saying, you know what, I have the answer and I'm the best, and you should really see my thing. I sell these pills. I have this and I have that. And you go through 3 or 4 pages of that. And that's nice. So what? And I don't want to be one of those people. It says doctor on my name for a reason. I'm doing this because I help people. It's my legacy. Am I the best? Why should they see me? I would like them to. I feel I could offer a lot of things that would be quite helpful and would really affect your life in a good way. But there are other people out there that present some good information too. So I don't want to put myself on a pedestal that I'm the best. I'm pretty good and I know stuff, but so are a lot of other
You're above the pedestal.
Right. No pedestal.
No, you're above.
Oh, I don't know about that either.
No, yes, you're right. And what I notice, and obviously, it takes 4 years of college, 4 years of medical school, then 3 years minimum residency, then 3 years fellowship, then you do some subspecialty, then you practice, and this is not counting all other hours. And actually, for us, just board certification costs thousands of dollars just to go and sit in front of the computer and take 9 hours test. And that's and obviously when patients, sometimes I get a message and they say, hi there, what's your service? And I'm not sure what does it mean. We've been providing, so many years with passion. I'm not sure how to reply to, hi there, what's your service? But I really also want to unite community, because the reason we have so many fabulous health coaches and healthcare professionals, because when patients see, dentist, and they see, sort of, one doctor, you can do only so much, but we actually educate other people that they actually impact more people and feel themselves also better because they provide way more value. So that's kind of my thought. So I really would like to acknowledge.
Well, thank you. And this is important to me because, as you said, I would see a busy day for me, I'll see 10 people. But being able to do this on the web now and bring this out, this could go to 4-5 billion people, and maybe a couple thousand will look and go, gee, my dentist never did that. How come nobody ever looked at my tongue? How come nobody ever talked to me about nutrition? How come? And there's a lot of how comes that shouldn't be there. How come nobody ever put together a Living a Longer Life lecture before?
Right.
And this is the time to bring this out into the world. And thank goodness we have that I'm still around, because the technology wasn't here when I first started practicing and really got into holistic work. But I'm so pleased that it's around now, that I can put this out and reach so many more people. It's one of the nice things I like about the NICO site. They were so happy with what I been doing for them that they made me an administrator. And even a very simple thing, I went on 2 cancer sites and said, any of you trying to get rid of your cancers, you have to get rid of your root canal teeth and mercury fillings because they're toxic.
And mercury, tell us.
Yes. Silver fillings that people have are toxic. And I got back so many emails saying nobody ever told us that. And I said, well, I just did. And go look up mercury and root canal toxicity, and you'll see it's affecting your healing. But I could never do that until the technology was around.
Yes, and especially Right. And, obviously we started, and I remember I was starting my PhD. I was actually writing by hand. And it's kind of funny nowadays when people actually, can dictate and transcribe everything. But can you walk us through a little bit your books? I see your books behind you. Is it Healthy Mind, Healthy Body? Can you tell us a little bit about your books?
Okay, I will. Let's see. This is my first book, the Healthy Mouth, Healthy Body book. And I wrote this because I wanted to kind of explain what dentistry is all about in a real way. Like we talked about diet. One of the things we have in here is, I'm just getting it for you, is an alkaline diet or a body cleansing diet like this, or a liver flush, which is also important for people to have because it'll change your tongue. So I wrote this so people get an understanding of what you can get from looking at the mouth. And then I realized it's not enough. So I wrote a second book called Living a Longer Life. And that's this one. We talk about diet, how different colors of food react, what you should be eating, how all of this works, all about your digestive system, things like this. And I found that these are very, very good and useful for people. And then I realized we need to do one more thing, which was about your tongue, because I see those every day. And I do want to show you one thing in here, because it's part of my favorite little thing to show people.
Yes.
I talked before about nutrition and how it affects your health. Well, I developed a product really for myself and my patients called Vital Boost this way, which will be for sale sometime this spring. And
Yeah.
we changed the name because that was a dental formula, and I was going to change it when the virus hit. But I started looking, I realized, there's a lot of antiviral things in there. So all we did was change the name and made it an immune enhancement supplement.
Yeah.
But years ago, I took patients and I put them on doing nothing else. The Vital Boost, change your diet a little bit, and this is what happened. These are the changes that you can see in tongues when you start.
That's very impressive. And so you took all photos and published and put all effort into putting everything together.
Yeah, here's some more before and after. These are actually cancer patients now, and you can see the differences just by changing their diet. Now you'll notice they're not really healthy yet, but they're on their way. And then so we did that for years. That was fine. It worked. But now we can do videos that go out all around the entire world and reach so many more people that I don't even know how to respond to it myself. It's like a gift that allows me to give my small amount of knowledge out to other people in the hope that they can get better for whatever reason. We say tongue in cheek, if this doesn't add 10 years to your life, write us for a full refund.
Yeah. Yes.
And it's funny, but it's not, because this is what I hope, that this will really help people really understand their lives and do better.
Yeah, excellent. And so what we are going to do, I'm going to put a link to join your class that you will be hosting. Sorry, I'm putting the secret away to the world that you'll be hosting next week. And we will make sure that everyone subscribe. And for everybody in the audience, there will be a link, put information in the link, and join a class that Dr. Zainis will hold. I'm so excited to join your class and your webinar, Dr. Zainis. We're really looking forward to learn more in depth, and it's a really, really exclusive group. So I really appreciate for hosting this. So I did put the link, and everyone, it's will be on the Facebook will be on Nico. It will be on my YouTube, The Doctor Connect, as well as on my channel and on a group, The Doctor Connect Facebook. So we will join and as well as connect with Dr. Zainas. Dr. Zainas, thank you so much for joining. So we are really looking forward to have a series. So then a lot of people learning from you. I learned so much valuable information today that we're really very much excited